Hello everybody and welcome to the video. I'm Moonbeam and I'm excited to share some information about the game we'll be playing on stream. We are going to be starting with Dragon Age Inquisition. This game is the third installment in the Dragon Age franchise, so I thought I would share a bit of the first two games with you first. This game universe is all about the decisions that you have made, and those decisions carry through to each new game as well. There is a default world state that you can play with, but you can also import your save state from previous playthroughs. I thought I would do a combination of default settings with some of my favorite choices peppered in. What can I say? I just like the characters I made. To begin with, I would like to show you the Dragon Age Tapestry. This is Dragon Age Keep, a website where we can build our world state. You can customize the options to basically whatever you want your world to look like. However, you can always just use the default world state when you begin your game. Before I get started in building our world state, I want to tell you a little bit about the first game in this franchise. The first game's name is Dragon Age Origins. In Origins, you get to pick from a variety of different characters to play as your main character. Each character comes with their very own origin story, hence the name Dragon Age Origins. So let's take a look at our Tapestry website and we can look at the characters we can build. Let's click on our hero icon and we can see what kind of heroes we can build. You have the choice between two genders in this game, male or female. This choice will affect who you can romance in the game, as well as a particular endgame choice. You have 3 races you can choose from. You can choose from dwarf, elf, or human. You also have 3 classes you can choose from, which include warrior, mage, and rogue. Combining your race and your class will give you a particular origin story. Now, I almost always choose to play as a rogue character in just about any game I play, but the mage mechanics in this game are stellar. Now, let's look at some of our choices. So, if we click on human here, and we click on rogue or warrior, we get the option of the human noble story. If you choose to play as the human noble, your family is kind of higher up in the ranks of the nobles, and you unfortunately go through a very sad period of time where a friend of the family turns on you and attacks your family. Just as a spoiler warning, all of these stories are sad stories. Now let's keep moving on. If you choose to play as a human mage or as an elven mage, you get the mage origin story. Now the mage origin story is one that I find very interesting because it tells a lot about the whole temper of the game. And I will be talking a lot about the mages later, so I'll hold off for then. If you choose to play as an elf, and you choose a warrior or a rogue character, you're going to have 2 options to play as for your origin stories. You can either play as a Dalish elf or as a city elf. Now, the Dalish elf, they're part of a clan that travel kind of like nomads, and they live on the outskirts of society, and they kind of get to do their own thing. If you choose to be a city elf, however, you live kind of in the slums of the city in something called an alienage, and you're really looked down on by the humans of the city, and you kind of have a rough time of it. Let's move on to our dwarven characters. If you play a dwarven character, you only have 2 options. You can only choose to play a warrior or a rogue. If you click on mage, it shoots you back to the other races. So let's click back on our dwarf again. So you can play as a warrior character or you can play as a rogue character. But again, it gives you 2 different origin story options. You can either play as the dwarf commoner, someone who is casteless and has to live in kind of the slums, or you can play as a dwarven noble story in which you actually play a part of the royal family. Now, I did say earlier, every single one of these stories has a very, very sad part to it, and you end up in a lot of trouble, no matter what character you play as. But lucky for you, you get recruited to be a part of what is known as the Grey Wardens. Now, Dragon Age takes place in the world of Thedas, and in the land where you come from, Ferelden, something dark is stirring. Creatures called Darkspawn have begun to stir and create chaos. They have actually come to taint something called an old god or an archdemon. It obviously causes major trouble for wherever these creatures attack. And the only people who can defeat the big bad, the archdemon, are the Grey Wardens. Now, these are a group of people who have taken the Darkspawn taint inside their bodies and survived. Many, many years have passed since the last blight, so the people have lost faith in the Grey Wardens because they seem to have lost their relevance. And the number of wardens have begun to drop. Duncan, one of the higher-ups, has begun to see the signs of the blight, and he is in the process of recruiting new wardens. So wherever you were at the end of your origin story, Duncan finds you, and he takes you off to start your training. At the start of the big battle, you undergo your secret ceremony and become an official Grey Warden. The king, Duncan, and their soldiers are ready to battle the Darkspawn hordes. And they have their buddy, General Loghain, off to the side, waiting to come to the aid with the rest of the soldiers. Well, it turns out that Loghain is a giant traitor. For reasons that I'm sure he thinks are perfectly acceptable, he turns his army away and retreats. Now this leaves Cailan and Duncan and the rest of their army alone to fight the Darkspawn. This includes the Ferelden branch of the Grey Wardens, and they are utterly devastated by the Darkspawn forces. No one makes it out alive, except for the player character and their trainer, Alistair. It is now up to the two of you to try and defeat the archdemon. You're going to gather an army as you progress through the story. Now, there are so many decisions to be made in this story. In fact, I'm going to go back to our tapestry, and we are going to talk about some of these choices right now. You have to go to the mages, to the dwarves, and to the elves to try to get them to come to war with you based off of old treaties made with the communities in the past between them and the wardens. And each of these places, you have to decide who to side with. Let's start here with our elven friends. Now, as you go into each of these places, you have quite a few quests you get to do and make decisions based off of those. But here the big one is, who are you going to side with? Are you going to side with the elves against the werewolves? Or are you going to side with the werewolves against the elves? Turns out the werewolves were under a curse from years past. They were humans who were not being very kind to the elves, and so a curse was placed upon them to be werewolves. So you can choose to side with them, and you can eliminate the Dalish, and you can just keep the werewolves, and you can take them with you as your allies. You can eliminate the werewolf threat and forge an alliance with the Dalish elves, bringing the elves with you into final war. Or you can broker peace, and you can break this curse and turn them back into their human selves, and the Dalish will come and join you in your war against the Blight. Another place that we have to go in this game is to Orzammar, which is where the dwarves live. And again, you have to do many different quests in here in order to make some choices for later on in the game. But some major choices here are who you choose to rule Orzammar. You can choose Balin, who is actually the brother of the dwarven noble main character, or you can choose Harrowmont. It is often told that Balin is the better choice overall. And the other major choice is when you go into the Deep Roads, you're searching for a paragon, who is someone that the dwarves hold in high honor. But she's gone a little crazy. So your choices are, you can either side with the paragon Caridin, and you can defeat Branka and destroy this horrible anvil, which, let me tell you, it's just a horrible thing. Or you can choose to fight with Branka and fight against Caridin. Or you can also convince Branka that what she's doing is really, really evil. And as you can see, sad things happen then. That's what's going on with the dwarves. This next choice that we're going to talk about, we have to make this choice a lot in this game. Like, a lot in this, well, not this game, but this game franchise. So many times. Now, there are a few other choices you can make here, but the major choice is mages versus Templars. And we will make this choice in every single game that we play, mages or Templars. So I want to talk a little bit more about this here. Now, the mages are very special people who have a very specific connection to something called the Fade. Now, the Fade is the land of the dreamers. It's where the demons live, or the spirits. Now, In Origins, they are mostly considered demons, though this will be something that is debated as the series goes on. And they use something called lyrium to help enhance their magical abilities. Now, because mages have this special connection to the Fade, it puts them at great risk of possession from these demons. The one that I'm showing here is called a Pride Demon. I'm going to talk about this a little bit in my next video. When a child shows signs of being mage, they are sent to the Circle because they are held under very strict supervision because of their greater chance of being possessed by these demons. All mages have to be a part of the Circle, and they have to undergo what's called a harrowing, which is what you see in the mage's origin story. It's a test to make sure that they're strong enough of will to resist the demons, and any mages who are not in the Circle are known as apostates. Technically, I think the Daedalus mages would be considered apostates, but they live outside of society, so they get away with it a little bit more. That brings us to the Templars. Now, the Templars are the other side of the story, right? They are part of a holy order, and they are being used to keep the mages in check. They also use lyriums to enhance their abilities, and another part of their job is to hunt down the apostates, and they need to return them to the Circle or something much more dire happens. Now, they are part of a holy order, and they report to the Chantry. The Chantry is a church of the major religion of Thedas, which is Andrastianism. They worship the Maker and his wife Andraste. The church, the Chantry, is often the ultimate authority led by the divine. And again, Templars, mages, Chantry, this all is central important information that will carry through to each game. One more important note about lyrium before I continue. Lyrium is mined primarily by the dwarves because of where they live, and it is thought that because of their long contact with the lyrium, dwarves are separated from the Fade. Therefore, they don't dream, and they are incapable of magic, which is why you cannot choose to play as a dwarven mage character. I would like to introduce you to some important characters that you're going to see throughout the game, our companions, as you will. The first one of those characters is Alistair. Yes, I love Alistair. Turns out that he is actually the king's brother. Surprise! So, you have some decisions to make about Alistair. At the end of the game, you will need to decide if you wish to side with the traitor Loghain or with Alistair in something called the Landsmeet. Now, Loghain's daughter is the current queen. Like, yes, the man seriously betrayed his son-in-law at the beginning of the game. I don't understand. If you do choose to side with Loghain, Alistair leaves the party and either dies, he gets executed, or he ends up not in the best condition. Loghain then comes with you to the end of the game, and either you or he has to sacrifice yourself. Oh, wait, I didn't tell you. The only way to destroy the Archdemon is for the Grey Warden, who lands the final blow, to sacrifice themselves in exchange by taking the old god's soul into them, therefore destroying both of their souls. You find that out at the very last possible moment. What a great career choice. Anyways, if you choose to side with Alistair, the only correct choice, if I'm honest, Loghain is executed, and you have yet another decision to make. Anora, the queen, can stay queen all by herself, and Alistair stays with the Grey Wardens, or Alistair and Anora can marry, and he becomes king, or you can kick Anora to the curb, and Alistair can become king on his own, or, and this is my favorite choice, if you play as a female human noble, you can marry Alistair and become queen. Yeah, I did that. I did it. I wanted to be queen. We all deserve our happy endings, okay? If you do bring Alistair with you to the end of the game, you have to make another choice there. Either you have to sacrifice yourself, or Alistair has to sacrifice himself. Or, just kidding, there's another choice. Which brings us to our next very important character, Morrigan. Morrigan is a Witch of the Wilds. or an apostate. Now, at the end of the game, she offers a choice to the wardens. Either the wardens have to sacrifice themselves to destroy the archdemon, or she can provide an alternative. That alternative is a bit shady, and yes, I chose it because I wanted my happy ending, darn it. She can create a spell that will allow her to conceive a child that will accept the old demon's soul instead of the warden. And this child will survive it, unlike the warden. So, if you play as a male warden, you can make the ultimate sacrifice by having a baby with Morrigan. Otherwise, your options are Alistair or Loghain, depending on who you allowed to make it out of the Landsmeet. I love this choice of Morrigan having an old god demon baby because it just makes the lore going into the final game so interesting. I love lore. Like, seriously, you guys, I love lore. Now that I've covered those important characters, let's talk about some of your other companions that you can have in this game. Now, some of your companions include Zevran. He is an elven assassin who, yes, tries to assassinate you, but you can get the one up on him and you can bring him into your party, and if he survives this game, you can see him again in Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition, but as minor quests. We have our dwarven friend Oghren. He actually has a part to play in the DLC for this game, Dragon Age Awakening. I'm not going to really talk about that game. Yes, there are decisions you can make in it, but I don't feel they're as important as like the mainstay games. We have our buddy Sten. He is a Qunari. What's interesting about Sten is he looks very different from the Qunari that we're going to see going further into the games. You'll see that a little bit more in my next video. I'm going to talk about the Qunari a little bit more there. Sten also has an extensive part to play in the extended universe of Dragon Age. There are movies, comic books, regular books written about them, and Sten is featured in some of those, as is Wynne. Wynne is a sweet, sweet old lady. She's a mage character that you can bring along with you. You do get to talk to her, I think, a little bit in the mage origin story. I cannot remember exactly. And then my favorite of these companions, the dog. Oh, what a loyal boy. If you play as a human noble, you get to have the dog straight from the get-out with you. Otherwise, you can rescue a dog in the very beginning of the game, in the camp, before, Duncan and the king die. You can recruit the dog. There's one more companion I would like to talk about, and we are going to see this companion in Inquisition quite a bit, actually, and that is Leliana. Now, Leliana is an interesting character. She's an advisor in Inquisition. We'll meet her very soon in the game. And she has led a very, very interesting life. Now, I don't want to give away too many spoilers about that because we are going to reveal parts of that as we play through Inquisition. But I will tell you a little bit about her in Origins. She's a human rogue character who is romanceable by just about any character. I mostly want to point out the importance of Leliana's character because it doesn't matter what decisions you make with her in Dragon Age Origins, she always is in Dragon Age Inquisition. She's just there. You can make the choice to just straight not recruit her at all. You recruit her at the very beginning of the game in a city called Lothering, which gets destroyed by the Blight. She presumably dies there in that game, if you think about it. Or, as the canon is, she somehow escapes. There's a situation where you have to do something that's like religious related, and Leliana is a very religious person. And so she can disagree with you and end up dying because of that decision, or just leave your party because of that decision. But no matter what you do, she ends up in Inquisition. She is an advisor in Inquisition. She's alive and well. There's a lot of, fan theories about why she would still be alive, even if you killed her in the first game. They're very interesting, but they're not like canon. The only thing that's canon for sure is Leliana survives and she makes it through to this game. So those are the main characters that we're going to see in this game, our companions in Dragon Age Origins. What I would like to do now is go over the Dragon Age Origins world state that we are going to be using for our run-through of Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm really just going to highlight some of the more in-depth decisions that we have to make. Let's click on our hero here. Our hero, we're going to actually use one of my default heroes, character that I played through. Alyssa Kusland is her name. I believe that is actually the default name, but she is my Grey Warden character. As you can see, she is a rogue human. I did say I usually play as a rogue. So this is the character we're going to go with for our world state. And you have the option of saying that you were the one who died killing the archdemon, or you're alive and well. That is the answer that I'm choosing there. Go back to our original state. We're going to kind of go through these kind of quickly. I'm going to explain a little bit as I feel it needs to be explained. You can romance characters in this game. Your options are Alistair, Morrigan, Leliana, or Zebrin. I'm going to choose to romance Alistair. Recruiting dog, that is good. Loghain, we're going to allow Alistair to get his vengeance and execute Loghain. This is not correct, but in order to make that to be correct, we have to change this first. Let's change Morgan to having a god baby with Alistair. And now we can change this option. Alistair did become king. I approve of this answer. And Warden Alistair, I am the queen. I told you, we gotta have that happy ending. Leliana is alive and well, and we did acquire the grimoire through peaceful means. Alright, let's go back to our Origins Tapestry. Let's go to our prologue. And yes, we're going to cure the hound. I mentioned when we were talking about the dog character that if you're the human noble, you get to have the dog character straight from the get out. Well, this is how you would get a dog character if you don't play as a human noble. You can not even like help him out at all. You can put him out of his misery, or you can cure him. Curing him is the only option to be able to take him with you, though. Alright, now let's go to Yarn of Sacred Ashes. This was that big religious dispute I was talking about with Leliana. You can either choose to not poison the Urn of Sacred Ashes, which is like this great mystical religious artifact, or you can poison it and defile it, in which case Leliana gets very angry with you. Let's not do that. Let's go down here for just a minute. Let's look at the nature of the beast. We did Broker Peace. Let's look at Paragon of her kind. Dagna is an important character, actually, that I did not talk about. Dagna is a dwarf who wants to go study about the circle, and she wants to learn more about magic and stuff, and so you can encourage her to go do so, or you can convince her to stay with her dad, or you can just like straight up not help her. There's also the option, if you choose to side with the Templars, that the circle gets destroyed, but she shows up in Dragon Age Inquisition as a character, so let's make that canon for us. Alright, that completes Orzammar. Let's look at the circle quests. I think these are all good. We support the mages. We keep First Chanter Irving alive, and I do not agree to Cullen's request to kill all of the mages. One of the very few times I will ever disagree with Cullen. Cullen is someone that we are going to see in Dragon Age Inquisition. He's actually one of the few characters that's actually very present in all three games. I did originally intend on going over the entire tapestry with you, but after recording it, I found that that would make the video extremely, extremely long instead of just mostly long. So I did edit out some of the more irrelevant choices, the ones that you can just make by doing quests. I did input them into our save state, so they will be going into our save state with us. If you are ever interested in checking this out, this is just a website you can go to, Dragon Age Keep. And if you're ever interested and you maybe want me to do just a mini stream where I go through the choices with you, please let me know. In my next video, I'm going to be explaining a little bit more about the second game in the franchise, Dragon Age 2, and how that ties in with the whole universe and the big choices you can make in that game. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope that the information is helpful as we go into our stream, which is on May 20th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And if you could do me a huge favor by dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you on May 20th. Bye-bye.